ॐ ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। प्रातः स्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वम् सच्चित्सुखं परमहंसगतिं तुरीयम् यत् स्वप्नजागर सुषुप्तमवेति नित्यम् तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्गः। Jai Gurudev. Belaji, you can keep the meanings of this ready. After each shloka is chanted, you can read the meanings of the shloka and then we'll go on.
Yeah, so I will share the screen for only this, or
Um, yeah,
how
I
do
think
you
you
want
share
to
the
go ahead?
screen for this and you can keep the meanings with you ready and you can read the meaning
Okay, so after each shloka, okay, just
after
give
each
me two
shloka.
minutes, please. Yeah.
Jai Gurudev. So,
Yeah,
should we
Devraji, it
one?
is, it is blank. It is, I'm trying to look it from the online. It's okay. It is blank because whatever I had said, but on my laptop it is there. But I won't be able to see.
Um, would you all prefer if it is shloka by shloka that we do the meaning, or would you want the chanting once in one go and then do the meanings?
No,
Shloka
what
and
you
meaning.
said is, yeah,
Shloka
It should
followed by
go.
more meaningful,
yes,
Yeah, one sloka at a time, maybe.
followed by
yeah.
the meaning, right?
Uh, the text which Dr. Mara sent, that is coming full, but that will not be. Should I read the meaning from that text? What Dr. Mara? That is the only text which is coming full. Otherwise, all have become blank.
We were using Swami Chinmayananda's, no? PDF, you can go to
Yes,
that.
yes. Yeah, but on my mobile, it is on my this desktop, it is opening.
Yeah, so you keep.
Just a minute. Give, yeah, yeah, I can, but I will not be able to see that.
So, what I suggest, I will chant the shloka. You look at your desktop and you read the meaning.
I have my text open here on this. I have Xeroxed it, no? So I
Yeah.
have,
Do you want to go ahead with the reading the meaning?
yeah,
I
no
think,
problem. Till that time, she
yeah,
manages. Yeah,
till she settles down.
yeah.
I think the share screen. Huh. This one will take a long time, Bella, to scroll up because it'll will consume a lot of time to scroll up, I suppose.
Oh, because I don't have any other option because my this
No,
mobile, it is
that,
You can read it from mobile, no? Same text. You can scroll that time when
no.
she is
What?
no
reading
this
the
text.
shloka.
That's what I'm telling, my dear. On my mobile, this text is completely blank. Initially, it was only few
Okay.
pages blank, but now the complete PDF file is blank.
Okay, no issues. So in that case, you keep this. I will chant the text from aloud, and as I'm chanting, you can scroll up to the next shloka. Okay, I think that's better. Om तपोभिक्षीणपापानां शान्तानां वीतरागिणां मुमुक्षूणामपेक्षोऽयम् आत्मबोधो विधीयते.
I am composing the Atma bodha, this treatise of the knowledge of the self for those who have purified themselves by austerities and are peaceful in heart and calm, who are free from cravings and are desirous of liberation.
बोधोऽन्यसाधनेभ्यो हि साक्षान्मोक्षैकसाधनम् पाकस्य वह्निवत् ज्ञानं विना मोक्षो न सिद्ध्यति.
Just as the fire is the direct cause for cooking, so without knowledge, no emancipation can be had. Compared with all other forms of discipline, knowledge of the self is the one direct means for liberation.
अविरोधितया कर्म नाविद्यां विनिवर्तयेत् विद्या विद्यां निहन्त्येव तेजस्तिमिरसङ्घवत्.
Action cannot destroy ignorance, for it is not in conflict with or opposed to ignorance. Knowledge does verily destroy ignorance as light destroys deep darkness.
परिच्छिन्न इव ज्ञानात् तन्नाशे सति केवलः स्वयं प्रकाशते ह्यात्मा मेघापायेषुमानिव.
The soul appears to be finite because of ignorance. When ignorance is destroyed, the self, which does not admit of any multiplicity, truly reveals itself by itself, like the sun when the clouds pass away.
अज्ञानकलुषं जीवं ज्ञानाभ्यासाद् विनिर्मलं कृत्वा ज्ञानं स्वयं नश्येत् जलं कतकरेणुवत्.
Constant practice of knowledge purifies the self, Jivatma, stained by ignorance, and then disappears itself as the powder of the kataka nut settles down after it has cleansed the muddy water.
संसारस्वप्नतुल्यो हि रागद्वेषादिसङ्कुलः स्वकाले सत्यवद्भाति प्रबोधे सत्यसद्भवेत्.
The world, which is full of attachments, aversions, etc., is like a dream. It appears to be real as long as it continues, but appears to be unreal when one is awake. That is when true wisdom dawns.
तावत् सत्यं जगद्भाति शुक्तिकारजतं यथा यावन्न ज्ञायते ब्रह्म सर्वाधिष्ठानमद्वयम्.
The Jagat appears to be true, Satyam, so long as Brahman, the substratum, the basis of all this creation, is not realized. It is like the illusion of silver in the mother of pearl.
उपादानेऽखिलाधारे जगन्ति परमेश्वरे सर्गस्थितिलयान्यान्ति बुद्बुदानीव वारिणि.
Like bubbles in the water, the worlds arise, exist, and dissolve in the Supreme Self, which is the material cause and the prop of everything.
सच्चिदात्मन्यनुस्यूते नित्ये विष्णौ प्रकल्पिताः व्यक्तयोः विविधाः सर्वा हाटके कटकादिवत्.
All the manifested world of things and beings are projected by imagination upon the substratum, which is the eternal, all pervading Vishnu, whose nature is existence, intelligence, just as the different ornaments are all made out of the same gold.
यथाकाशो हृषीकेशो नानोपाधिगतो विभुः तद्भेदाद्भिन्नवद्भाति तन्नाशे केवलो भवेत्.
The all pervading Akasha appears to be diverse on account of of its association with various conditionings, upadhis, which are different from each other. Space becomes one of on the destruction of these limiting adjuncts. So also the omnipresent truth appears to be diverse on account of its association with the various upadhis and becomes one on the destruction of these upadhis.
नानोपाधिवशादेव जातिवर्णाश्रमादयः आत्मन्यारोपितास्तो ये रसवर्णादिभेदवत्.
Because of its association with different conditionings, upadhis, such ideas as caste, color, and position are superimposed upon the Atman as flavor, color, etc. are superimposed on water.
पञ्चीकृतमहाभूत सम्भवं कर्म सञ्चितं शरीरं सुखदुःखानां भोगायतनमुच्यते.
Determined for each individual by his own past actions and made up of the five elements that have gone. I'm sorry, I will read once again. Determined for each individual by his own past actions and made up of the five elements that have gone through the process of a fivefold self-division and mutual combination. Panchikarana are born the gross body, the medium through which pleasure and pain are experienced, the tent of experiences.
पञ्चप्राणमनो बुद्धिः दशेन्द्रियसमन्वितम् अपञ्चीकृतभूतोत्थं सूक्ष्माङ्गं भोगसाधनम्.
The five pranas, the 10 organs, and the manas and the buddhi formed from the rudimentary elements, tanmatras, before their fivefold division and mutual combination with one another. Panchakarana. And this is the subtle body, the instruments of experience of the individual.
अनाद्यविद्या निर्वाच्य कारणोपाधिरुच्यते उपाधित्रिदयादन्यम् आत्मानमवधारयेत्.
Avidya, which is indescribable and beginningless, is the causal body. Know for certain that the Atman is other than these three conditioning bodies, upadhis.
पञ्चकोशादियोगेन तत्तन्मय इव स्थितः शुद्धात्मा नीलवस्त्रादि योगेन स्फटिको यथा.
In its identification with the five sheaths, the immaculate Atman appears to have borrowed their qualities upon itself, as in the case of a crystal which appears to gather unto itself the color of its vicinity, blue cloth, etc. It is vicinity.
वपुस्तुषाधिभिः कोशैः युक्तं युक्त्यावघाततः आत्मानमन्तरं शुद्धं विविच्या तण्डुलं यथा.
Through discriminative self-analysis and logical thinking, one should separate the pure self within from the sheaths as one separates the rice from the husk, bran, etc. that are covering it.
सदा सर्वगतोऽप्यात्मा न सर्वत्रावभासते बुद्धावेवावभासेत स्वच्छेषु प्रतिबिम्बवत्.
The Atman does not shine in everything. He is all pervading. He is manifest only in the inner equipment, the intellect, buddhi, just as the reflection in a clean mirror.
देहेन्द्रियमनोबुद्धिः प्रकृतिभ्यो विलक्षणं तद्वृत्तिसाक्षिणं विद्यात् आत्मानं राजवत्सदा.
One should understand that the Atman is always like the king, distinct from the body, senses, mind, and intellect, all of which constitute the matter Prakriti and is the witness of their functions.
व्यापृतेष्विन्द्रियेष्वात्मा व्यापारी वा विवेकिनां दृश्यते भ्रेषु धावत्सु धावन्निव यथा शशि.
The moon appears to be running when the clouds move in the sky. Likewise, to the non-discriminating person, the Atman appears to be active when it is observed through the functions of the sense organs.
आत्मचैतन्यमाश्रित्य देहेन्द्रियमनोधियः स्वक्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्ते सूर्यलोकं यथा जनाः.
Depending upon the energy or vitality of consciousness, Atma Chaitanya, the body, senses, mind, and intellect engage themselves in their respective activities, just as men work depending upon the light of the sun.
देहेन्द्रियगुणान् कर्मान् अमले सच्चिदात्मनि अध्यस्यन्त्यविवेकेन गगने नीलतादिवत्.
Fools, because they lack in their powers of discrimination, superimpose on the Atman the absolute existence knowledge, Sat Chit, all the varied functions of the body and the senses, just as they attribute blue color and the like to the sky.
अज्ञानान् मानसोपाधेः कृत्वादीनि कर्तृत्वादीनि चात्मनि कल्प्यन्ते मृगते चन्द्रे चलनादि यथाम्भसः.
The tremblings that belong to the waters are attributed through ignorance to the reflected moon dancing on it. Likewise, agency of action, of enjoyment, and of other limitations which really belong to the mind are delusively understood as the nature of the self, Atman.
रागेच्छा सुखदुःखादि बुद्धौ सत्यां प्रवर्तते सुषुप्तौ नास्ति तन्नाशे तस्मात् बुद्धेस्तु नात्मनः.
Attachment, desire, pleasure, pain, etc. are perceived to exist so long as buddhi or mind functions. They are not perceived in deep sleep when the mind ceases to exist. Therefore, they belong to the mind alone and not to the Atman.
प्रकाशोऽर्कस्य तु यस्य शैत्यमग्निर्यथोष्णता स्वभावः सच्चिदानन्द नित्यनिर्मलतात्मनः.
Just as luminosity is the nature of the sun, coolness of water, and heat of fire, so too the nature of the Atman is eternity, purity, reality, consciousness, and bliss.
आत्मनः सच्चिदंशश्च बुद्धिर्वृत्तिरिति द्वयम् संयोज्य च विवेकेन जानामीति प्रवर्तते.
By the indiscriminate blending of the two, the existence knowledge aspect of the self and the thought wave of the intellect, there arises the notion of I know.
आत्मनो विक्रिया नास्ति बुद्धिर्बोधो न जात्विति जीवः सर्वमलं ज्ञात्वा ज्ञाता द्रष्टेति मुह्यति.
Atman never does anything, and the intellect of its own accord has no capacity to experience I know. But the individuality in us delusorily thinks he is himself the seer and the knower.
रज्जु सर्पवदात्मानं जीवं ज्ञात्वा भयं वहेत् नाहं जीवः परात्मेति ज्ञातं चेन्निर्भयो भवेत्.
Just as the person who regards a rope as a snake is overcome by fear, so also one considering oneself as the ego, jiva, is overcome by fear. The egocentric individuality in us regains fearlessness by realizing that it is not a jiva but is itself the supreme soul.
आत्मावभासयत्येको बुद्ध्यादीनीन्द्रियाण्यपि दीपो घटादिवत् स्वात्मा जडैस्तैर्नावभास्यते.
Just as a lamp illumines a jar or pot, so also the Atman illumines the mind and the sense organs, etc. These material objects by themselves cannot illumine themselves because they are inert.
स्वबोधेनान्यबोधे च बोधरूपतयात्मनः न दीपस्यान्यदीपे च यथा स्वात्मप्रकाशने.
A lighted lamp does not need another lamp to illumine its light. So too, Atman, which is knowledge itself, needs no other knowledge to know it.
निषिध्य निखिलोपाधिः नेति नेतीति वाक्यतः विद्यादैक्यं महावाक्यैः जीवात्मपरमात्मनोः.
By a process of negation of the conditionings, upadhis, through the help of the scriptural statement, it is not this, it is not this, the oneness of the individual soul and the supreme soul, as indicated by the great Mahavakyas, has to be realized.
आविद्यकं शरीरादि दृश्यं बुद्भुतवत्क्षरम् एतद् विलक्षणं विद्यात् अहं ब्रह्मेति निर्मलम्.
The body, etc., up to the causal body, ignorance, which are objects perceived, are as perishable as bubbles. Realize through discrimination that I am the pure Brahman, ever completely separate from all this.
देहान्यत्वान्न मे जन्म जराकार्षलयादयः शब्दादिविषयैः सङ्गो निरीन्द्रियतया न च.
I am other than the body, and so I am free from changes such as birth, wrinkling, senility, death, etc. I have nothing to do. I have nothing to do with the sense objects such as sound and taste, for I am without the sense organs.
अमनस्त्वान्न मे दुःख रागद्वेष भयादयः अप्राणो ह्यमना शुभ्र इत्यादि श्रुतिशासनात्.
I am other than the mind, and hence I am free from sorrow, attachment, malice, and fear. For he is without breath and without mind, pure, etc., is the commandment of the great scripture, the Upanishads.
निर्गुणो निष्क्रियो नित्यो निर्विकल्पो निरञ्जनः निर्विकारो निराकारो नित्यमुक्तोऽस्मि निर्मलः.
I am without attributes and actions, eternal, nitya, without any desire and thought, nirvikalpa, without any dearth, niranjana, without any change, nirvikara, without form, nirakara, ever liberated, nitya mukta, ever pure, nirmala.
अहमाकाशवत् सर्वं बहिरन्तर्गतोऽच्युतः सदा सर्वसमसिद्धो निस्सङ्गो निर्मलोऽचलः.
Like the space, I feel all the things within and without. Changeless and the same in all, at all times, I am pure, unattached, stainless, and motionless.
नित्यशुद्धविमुक्तैकम् अखण्डानन्दमद्वयम् सत्यं ज्ञानमनन्तं यत् परं ब्रह्माहमेव तत्.
I am verily that supreme Brahman alone, which is eternal, pure, and free, one, indivisible, and non dual, and of the nature of changeless knowledge infinite.
नित्यशुद्धविमुक्तैकम्. Yeah, I think that's done. एवं निरन्तराभ्यस्था ब्रह्मैवास्मीति वासना हरत्य विद्याविक्षेपान् रोगानिवरसायनम्.
The impression, I am Brahman, thus created by constant practice, destroys ignorance, and the agitation caused by it, just as medicine or rasayana destroys disease.
विविक्तदेश आसीनो विरागो विजितेन्द्रियः भावयेदेकमात्मानं तमनन्तमनन्यधीः.
Sitting in a solitary place, freeing the mind from desires and controlling senses, meditate with unswerving attention on the Atman, which is one without a second.
आत्मन्येवाखिलं दृश्यं प्रविलाप्य धिया सुधीः भावयेदेकमात्मानं निर्मलाकाशवत् सदा.
The wise one should intelligently merge the entire world of objects in the Atman alone and constantly think of the self ever as contaminated by anything as the sky. I think uncontaminated.
Yeah, it is uncontaminated. That's a typo there.
Yeah, I will read once again. The wise one should intelligently merge the entire world of objects in the Atman alone and constantly think of the self ever as uncontaminated by anything as the sky.
रूपवर्णादिकं सर्वं विहाय परमार्थवित् परिपूर्णचिदानन्द स्वरूपेणावतिष्ठते.
He who has realized the Supreme discards all his identification with the objects of names and forms. Thereafter, he dwells as an embodiment of the infinite consciousness and bliss. He becomes the self.
ज्ञातृज्ञानज्ञेयभेदः परेणात्मनि विद्यते चिदानन्दैकरूपत्वात् दीप्यते स्वयमेव तत्.
There are no distinctions such as knower, the knowledge, and the object of knowledge in the Supreme Self on account of its being of the nature of endless bliss. It does not admit of such distinctions within itself. It alone shines by itself.
एवमात्मारणौ ध्यानं मथने सततं कृते उदितावगतिर्ज्वाला सर्वाज्ञानेन्धनं दहेत्.
When thus the lower and the higher aspects of the self are well churned together, the fire of knowledge is born from it, which in its mighty conflagration shall burn down all the fuel of ignorance in us.
अरुणेनेव बोधेन पूर्वं सन्तमसे हृते तत आविर्भवेदात्मा स्वयमेवांशुमानिव.
The Lord of early dawn, Aruna, himself has already looted away the thick darkness when soon the sun rises. The divine consciousness of the self rises when the right knowledge has already killed the darkness in the bosom.
आत्मा तु सततं प्राप्तोऽपि अप्राप्त अप्राप्तवदविद्यया तन्नाशे प्राप्तवद् भाति स्वकण्ठाभरणं यथा.
Atman is an ever-present reality. Yet, because of ignorance, it is not realized. On the destruction of ignorance, Atman is realized. It is like the missing ornament of one's neck.
स्थाणौ पुरुषवद्भ्रान्त्या कृता ब्रह्मणि जीवता जीवस्य तात्विके रूपे तस्मिन् दृष्टे निवर्तते.
Brahman appears to be a jiva because of ignorance, just as a post appears to be a ghost. The egocentric individuality is destroyed when the real nature of the jiva is realized as the self.
तत्त्वस्वरूपानुभवात् उत्पन्नं ज्ञानमञ्जसा अहं ममेति चाज्ञानं बाधते दिग्भ्रमादिवत्.
The ignorance characterized by the notions I and mine is destroyed by the knowledge produced by the realization of the true nature of the self, just as right information removes the wrong notion about the directions.
सम्यग् विज्ञानवान् योगी स्वात्मन्येवाखिलं जगत् एकं च सर्वमात्मानम् ईक्षते ज्ञानचक्षुषा.
The yogi of perfect realization and enlightenment sees through his eye of wisdom, Gnana Chakshusha, the entire universe in his own self, and regards everything else as his own self and nothing else.
आत्मैवेदं जगत् सर्वम् आत्मन्योन्यन्न विद्यते मृदो यद्वद्घटादीनि स्वात्मानं सर्वमीक्षते.
Nothing, whatever exists other than the Atman, the tangible universe, is verily Atman. As pots and jars are verily made of clay and cannot be said to be anything but clay, so too to the enlightened soul, all that is perceived is the self.
जीवन्मुक्तस्तु तद्विद्वान् पूर्वोपाधिगुणान् त्यजेत् सच्चिदानन्दरूपत्वात् भवेद् भ्रमरकीटवत्.
A liberated one, endowed with self knowledge, gives up the traits of his previously explained equipments, upadhis, and because of his nature of Sat Chit Ananda, he verily becomes Brahman like the worm that grows to be a wasp.
तीर्त्वा मोहार्णवं हत्वा रागद्वेषादिराक्षसान् योगी शान्तिसमायुक्तः आत्मा रामो विराजते.
After crossing the ocean of delusion and killing the monsters of likes and dislikes, the yogi, who is united with peace, dwells in the glory of his own realized self as an Atmaram.
बाह्या नित्यसुखासक्तिं हित्वात्मसुखनिवृत्तः घटस्थदीपवत् स्वस्थः स्वान्तरेव प्रकाशते.
The self-abiding Jivan Mukta, relinquishing all his attachments to the illusory external happiness and satisfied with the bliss derived from the Atman, shines inwardly like a lamp placed inside a jar.
बाह्या नित्यसुखासक्तिं Hitvatma sukha nivrita.
Upadi.
I think that's finished, right? Upadistopi tadharmaihi alipto vyoma vanmunihi sarvan vimudhavattishte asakto vayuvaccharet.
Though he lives in the conditionings, upadhis, he, the contemplative one, remains ever unconcerned with anything, or he may move about like the wind, perfectly unattached.
उपाधिविलयाद् विष्णौ निर्विशेषं विशेन्मुनिः जले जलं वियद्व्योम्नि तेजस्तेजसि वा यथा.
On the direction of the upadhis, contemplative one is totally absorbed in Vishnu, the all-pervading spirit, like water into water, space into space, and light into light.
यल्लाभान्ना परो लाभः यत्सुखान्ना परं सुखं यज्ञानान्ना परं ज्ञानं तद्ब्रह्मेत्यवधारयेत्.
Realize that to be Brahman, the attainment of which leaves nothing more to be attained, the blessedness of which leaves no other blessing to be desired, and the knowledge of which leaves nothing more to be known.
यद्दृष्ट्वा न परं दृश्यं यद्भूत्वा न पुनर्भवः यज्ञात्वा न परं ज्ञेयं तद्ब्रह्मेत्यवधारयेत्.
Realize that to be Brahman, which, when seen, leaves nothing more to be seen, which, having become one, is not born again in this world, and which, when knowing, leaves nothing else to be known.
तिर्यगूर्ध्वमदः पूर्णं सच्चिदानन्दमद्वयम् अनन्तं नित्यमेकं यत् तद्ब्रह्मेत्यवधारयेत्.
Realize that to be Brahman, which is existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute, which is non dual, infinite, eternal, and one, and which fills all the quarters above and below and all that exists in between, exists between.
अतद्व्यावृत्तिरूपेण वेदान्तैर्लक्ष्यते द्वयम् अखण्डानन्दमेकं यत् तद्ब्रह्मेत्यवधारयेत्.
Realize that to be Brahman, which is non dual, indivisible, one, and blissful, and which is indicated in Vedanta as the immutable substratum, realized after the negation of all tangible objects.
अखण्डानन्दरूपस्य तस्यानन्दलवाश्रिताः ब्रह्माद्यास्तारतम्येन भवन्त्यानन्दिनोऽखिलाः.
Deities like Brahma and others, from the Creator himself, Brahmaji, down to the most undeveloped worm, the most insignificant unicellular organism, all enjoy but a share from a minute particle of this infinite bliss of the absolute Brahman, taste only a particle of the unlimited bliss of Brahman, and enjoy in proportion their share of that particle.
तद्युक्तमखिलं वस्तु व्यवहारस्तदन्वितः तस्मात् सर्वगतं ब्रह्म क्षीरे सर्पिरिवाखिले.
All objects are pervaded by Brahman. All actions are possible because of Brahman. Therefore, Brahman permeates everything as butter permeates milk.
अनन्वस्तूलमह्रस्वम् अदीर्घमजमव्ययम् अरूपगुणवर्णाख्यं तद्ब्रह्मेत्यवधारयेत्.
Realize that Brahman, which is neither subtle nor gross, neither short nor long, without birth or change, without form, qualities, color, and name.
यद्भासा भास्यतेऽर्कादि भास्यैर्यक्तु न भास्यते येन सर्वमिदं भाति तद्ब्रह्मेत्यवधारयेत्.
That by the light of which the luminous orbs like the sun and the moon are illuminated, but which is not illumined by their light. Realize that to be Brahman.
स्वयमन्तर्बहिर्व्याप्य भासयन्नखिलं जगत् ब्रह्म प्रकाशते वह्निः प्रतप्ताप्यसपिण्डवत्.
Pervading the entire universe outwardly and inwardly, the Supreme Brahman shines of itself like the fire that permeates a red hot iron ball and glows by itself.
जगद्विलक्षणं ब्रह्म ब्रह्मणोऽन्यन्न किञ्चन ब्रह्मान्यान् भाति चेन्मिथ्या यथा मरुमरीचिका.
Brahman is other than this, the universe. There exists nothing that is not Brahman. If any object other than Brahman appears to exist, it is unreal, like the mirage.
दृश्यते श्रूयते यत् यत् ब्रह्मणोऽन्यन्न तद्भवेत् तत्त्वज्ञानाच्च तद्ब्रह्म सच्चिदानन्दमद्वयम्.
All that is perceived or heard is Brahman and nothing else. Attaining the knowledge of the reality, one sees the universe as the non-dual Brahman, existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute.
सर्वगं सच्चिदात्मानं ज्ञानचक्षुर्निरीक्षते अज्ञानचक्षुनिक्षेप्त भास्वन्तं भानुमन्धवत्.
Though Atman is pure consciousness and ever present everywhere, yet it is perceived by the eye of wisdom alone. But one whose vision is obscured by ignorance, he does not see it as the blind do not see the resplendent sun.
श्रवणादिभिरुद्दीप्तः ज्ञानाग्निर्परितापितः ज्ञानाग्निपरितापितः जीवः सर्वमलान्मुक्तः स्वर्णे वद्यात तं स्वयं. There are some I'm not able to get the full print over here.
Yeah, Swarnavadyotate Swayam.
Swarnavadyotate swayam. I'll just chant it again. श्रवणादिभिरुद्दीप्तः ज्ञानाग्निपरितापितः जीवः सर्वमलान्मुक्तः स्वर्णेवाद्योतते स्वयम्.
The Jiva, free from impurities, being heated in the fire of knowledge, kindled by hearing, and so on, shines of itself like gold.
हृदाकाशोदितो ह्यात्मा बोधभानुस्तमोपहृत् सर्वव्यापी सर्वधारी भाति भासयतेऽखिलम्.
Atman, the sun of knowledge that rises in the sky of the heart, destroys the darkness of the ignorance, pervades and sustains all, and shines and makes everything to shine.
दिग्देशकालाद्यनपेक्ष सर्वगं शान् शीतादिहृन्नित्यसुखं निरञ्जनं यस्वात्मतीर्थं भजते विनिष्क्रियः स सर्ववित् सर्वगतो मृतो भवेत्.
He who, renouncing all activities, who is free of all the limitations of time, space, and direction, worships his own Atman, which is present everywhere, which is the destroyer of heat and cold, which is bliss eternal and stainless, becomes all knowing and all pervading, and attains thereafter immortality. That's it.
इति शंकराचार्य विरचित आत्मबोधः समाप्तः. ॐ तत्सत्. We can all just close our eyes and just reflect on all that we have heard and listened to just now. Jai Gurudev. Let us all share our understanding. This is a Prakarana Grantha. This is one of the preparatory texts. And it is, although it is composed by Adi Shankaracharya, it is actually taken from all the essence of the Upanishads. And the eligibility for studying this text is put up in the very beginning. Like in every other text, even Ashtavakra Gita, for instance, there is an eligibility criteria. So once that is ticked, then one can enter the portals of the Atma bodha. So tapo bhikshina papanam shantanam vitaraginam mumukshunam apekshoyam atma bodho vidhiyate. So someone who has done enough austerity is rid of ragadveshas and is desirous of moksha. And for whom his mental agitations have settled down, he is eligible to study the text Atma bodha. I think each one of us can share one little bit, and then that will string the whole text together.
I think in the first few, I couldn't tell, like maybe 1 to 10, I think, talking about how the Atma is being formed. Like, what is Atma basically? I don't know, maybe I got it. The thing that comes to your mind, like when I was thinking about it, that Chidananda Rupa Shivoham, like that is one positive thing, that remembering about Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. But to get there, we have to negate everything. And so that was thing. I mean, I'm sure just it had to be in front of it. So I remember in the first few similes they were given to explain the fact about the Atmas. It shines, sorry, the veil of ignorance, how it's covering it, like that kadaka with that water, using kadaka nut to clear that dirty water, like that. How we are covered with that the veil of ignorance is covering the knowledge. Knowledge. So like the mega so on, like how the clouds are covering the sun, and when it moves, the mega moves, like then it shows the sun. So a lot of those similes trying to educate, how the author trying to educate what is Brahman, like in the beginning. Then he goes on to negating what's supposed to be negated. What is all this is matter, without Brahman, how this pervaded, all beings and all the objects are being pervaded. The action the action being performed by Brahman. That's been illustrated in the later part of the slokas. The 34, number 34 is the sloka to remember, like how we can't say it's characteristics or qualities of Atma, but it is what it is, like Nirgano, Nishkriyo, Nitya, Nirankara, Nirvikalpaga, Niranchanaga, Nirakaraga, Nirvikaraga, Nirakaraga, Nityamukto, and Nirmala. That I remember that one, like to describe the Atma that we can contemplate on that. And the one other sloka which really struck me is like in the meditation, how you get there with meditation, and also worshipping Atman in everywhere. I mean, maybe it's self worshipping and then worship Brahman everywhere. So that two things were kind of got in this today's when we're reading. That means we do like Nirguna Upasana or something like that.
So it is only through jnana that we can destroy this veil of ignorance, because any karma, all actions are part of avidya. So therefore, to come out of avidya, you have to use something else. You cannot use something that is born of avidya to get out of avidya. So therefore, no action can liberate. It is only through jnana. Just like how pakasya vanni vajnanam vina mukto nisudhyate. You might have all the ingredients kept for cooking, but if you do not light the fire of light the stove, the fire, it is not going to cook. So all the other things that we do are just the ingredients getting ready, but then it is the knowledge that is important. The importance of knowledge was given in the first few shlokas. And then how the Atma is mistaken for the self. The self is mistaken for the different upadhis. Like Neela Tadi, the water is, the pure water takes the color of the whatever is added to it. So we think that the water is colored, but the water actually is like the crystal is pure. So because of this kalusham, because of that misapprehension, because of that superimposition, we mistake the self to be all the non-self equipment, the mind, body, intellect, ego. And then how the gross, the subtle, and the causal bodies are formed. The causal body is the root cause of the subtle and the gross bodies, right? And that is born of avidya. And anything that is seen is anatma, is the non-self. Just like the ghost on the post, mirage, water in the mirage, the snake on the rope. So similarly, through Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, through the Shastra, through that, like the Mathana, the higher and the lower self, like that Jnana Mathana has to be done, constantly churning the whole thing. Then through that fire of knowledge, this misapprehension gets dissolved. And for this, the raga dveshadi rakshasan, all the, how do we purify ourselves? By getting rid of the raga dveshas. And then Atma Ramo Virajate. Then that apparently lost peace, you are united with that. The peace that is actually there within, throughout it is there. It's a substratum and it is the basis of all creation. Everything is because of it. And the beautiful example of the deep sleep, because the mind, raga, dveshas, the intellect, ego, none of this is present in deep sleep. But upon waking up, we take on the different roles. We take on all this identification. So similarly, just like how space is not contaminated by anything that is there in space, Atma remains pure. And that is what each one of us is.
One more verb is used for Atma, that it is like a wind.
Yeah, Vayu Vacharet. Even the Vayu is not contaminated by, see, like if it is passing through some a bouquet of flowers or a garden of flowers, it takes on the fragrance of the flowers. If it is going through some garbage bin, it takes on the stink of the garbage. But it is apparently, it is not contaminating the wind. It is superimposed on that. Similarly, the Atma, because of this avidya, is associated with the body mind equipment, and therefore we mistake that to be the self.
Yeah. So the individual self is differentiated from the self itself, right?
Mm.
With the ego, and that the last one to go to before we realize the self. And then he also gave the ways to realize self. Once who has realized self also been explained, right? Like Jivan Mukta and how he is, and some of the slokas were explained, what Jivan Mukta and how he acts and in works and whatnot. And then in the end, what self realization, like after realization, all the limitations are gone, right? I mean, those last three I think 61 or 60, I don't remember, was it 50s, in 50s, where once you realized self, that no more to be known, no knowledge to be known, or some, those things have been two slokas about that. Nothing to be known, no. And how uh, you once realized how you unite with yourself, with the universal self, that like water with water and space with space, like wind with the wind and things like that. And I mean, those were nicely explained once, realizing self. So here like you said, initially how step by step they have taken all the way through to attain self-realization. and one with that Advaita Bhavana is also been explained in the end. All the things are like impermanent. You know that Viveka is been, you only read all that, not what was it? That's all. Sadhana Sadhishtaya.
Jai Gurudev, I'm having a bit of a confusion now. Now we say Atma is Satchit Ananda and present everywhere. And it is the light that illumines itself and illumines everything else. Then why do we call a pot inert, even though it has Atma in it? Or am I getting that confused? It doesn't have life, but it is made up of the material
Can
things
you
that has
repeat
come from the
your
Atma.
Sumaji, can you repeat that? I missed the first part of your question.
See, we are trying to, at least I'm trying to understand with my limited equipments.
Even stone has some.
Huh?
Sorry, you carry on, please.
Yeah, conceptually, we understand Satchit Ananda. That is Atma, that is the one that illumines everything, and it is self-luminous. And it is present in everything. Understand that. And at some somewhere in this script, they say that the pot is inert. But the pot is also made up of, the source of the pot is also Atma. So I don't know why I'm stuck in that. Because we are told to see everything as Atma. We have to see everything as the divine in everything.
Yeah, everything is pervaded by Atma. I mean, Brahman. So that's called Atma also.
So see, every bit of the snake has the rope in it, right? When you look at the snake and the rope example, every bit of the snake is pervaded by the rope. It is only because of ignorance that you mistake it to be the snake. Similarly, everything in the universe, whether it is inert or so-called alive, is pervaded by that Atma Tattva.
Yeah.
The very existence depends upon Atma. That's a substratum.
Yes.
And depending upon, each one has that Atma Tattva, but it only shines forth in the purified intellect. That is what was mentioned in one of the shlokas. Although Atma pervades throughout the universe, it manifests itself in a purified, polished Antakarana.
Thank you. Now
Isn't
I
it?
get it. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you.
So that's the whole
Thank you so
sadhana
much.
is to uplift our consciousness. That is why Gurudev says, no? He says, the higher your prana is, the higher your state of elevation of consciousness, all these little things don't bother you at all. If you're very joyful, you're very, upbeat, those little things don't bother you. So similarly, the higher our state of consciousness, the closer we are to Brahman, so to say. So that purified intellect is where it shines forth completely.
Hey Gurudev, here in the clear mirror, we realize
that I am that. But regardless whether my mirror is clean or not, it is still pervading, isn't it?
It is, of course. It
Yeah.
is. Which is why I see that beautiful simile that Shankaracharya gave is in that water that is moving, that ripples of water, it appears as if the moon is shaking, the moon is moving, right? But actually, the moon is still. It is only the ripples of the water that give that impression that the moon is moving. Similarly, the Atma is there. It is calm, pure, eternal, limitless. But because of that limitations of our body and mind, it appears as though it is limited. But Rajavat Sada, it's like that sun, Surya Lokam Yatha Jana. It's like the sun which illumines everything. Everything happens in its presence.
It's so nice to know from this is the eternal non-doer, that Sakshi for everything. But then apparently everything is happening only because of him. And then, but yet he remains quiet and not doing, like somebody who is all knowing, there is no perturb, nothing, that means all these people who are, like thinking that they know everything, but then they don't know pretty much. And it is like meaning, ourselves, like, we make it, that's why a big difference, isn't it? Like, just think about it. Like somebody who knows everything is so perfect, that Brahman, okay, like thinking about all the qualities and putting it together, all knowing, all pervading, all this, and then in fact every atom and every small little thing moves because of him. Then we can keep saying we are doing everything.
Like the dream, no? In the dream, every bit of the dream is pervaded by you. Because you
Yeah.
are the creator of the dream. The dream has no existence without you.
Mm.
Similarly, the Atma is the in and through.
Yeah.
One of the shlokas, it even said
He
that it
ourselves.
illumines your mind, thoughts, including the ignorance. That's where the problem is. When there is a knowledge, I mean, the Atma is what knowledge. When it illumines my ignorance, then
That is what Maya is.
again I'm stuck in Maya.
It is
My
also
I,
brain.
said that it is
whenever,
also said the avidya is beginning less, but when it illuminates, then it will be self-effulgent. Then
it's
See,
so
that's
nice
why.
to feel what Chitta Prajna is like. When you read all these examples and try to keep in mind, like that thing that I was talking about yesterday, that all the time it reminds me, not affected by any of it, just be steady
Yeah.
mind.
See, that is what Maya is.
Yeah.
Yama Maya. That which is not but appears as though it is. Avidya is Anirvachya, Anadi, Avidya Rupam, the Karana Shakti.
Avidya, yeah. And
Is
Sakshi,
it is
what? Sakshi. No, it is the reason for the two bodies,
Mula-
right? Sattavad or something like that. It will come. What is the next line? Anirvacha Nadi Avidya Rupa
Sharira
Sakshi.
Dvayasya Karana Matram.
Right. Sarira. Yeah.
Karan. Satsvarupa
Karnamatram.
Ajnana. Satsvarupa Ajnanam. It does not know its own self. That is the Karana Sharira. which is why with this knowledge is what will shine light on that.
Nirvikalpa, right? It does say somewhere Nirvikalpa Satrupam or something like that.
Nirvikalpaka Rupam Satsvarupa Jnanam.
Right.
It is only that veil of ignorance that separates the world of Maya. No, I mean, Maya is the veil of ignorance. And just like that snake and rope, I mean, I can't but, feel so amazed at these wonderful similes and examples that our rishis have brought up. Just imagine how they've brought up the whole eternal truth down to our
Everything
mundane
that's
world.
available in front of your
That's
eyes.
available for us to understand.
Yeah.
So indebted to them, really.
I mean, make you understand that what Brahman is. Like, see, it is so difficult to explain, right, to somebody who cannot see it. Like, so we are so dependent on all these sense organs, and only we see only outside. Given that, that they're trying to give you that knowledge to make you understand what is not there. Like, I mean, what is not, you're not able to see. It is there, but we are not able to see it. So, like, the examples were given, butter in the milk. Butter permeates the milk. And there is another example was what was it? That Aranya something, Arani something, the stick here that
Arani, that where you are higher and the lower selves, you churn that, and that with that when you churn this, then from
the
that
light
fire
comes
that
up.
comes out, then the whole fuel of ignorance is burnt out.
Right.
Yeah, I think we'll stop here. We've exceeded our time, and it was very beautiful, this whole journey, and thanks to each one of you who has been there. And a special thanks to Bela for, almost single-handedly taking this forward. Bela, Rinal, Dr. Mara for having chipped in and taken this forward. From tomorrow, shall we start the chapter 18?
Yeah, I can do that, Dr. Brahmara. Hopefully, I'll get my computer set up. Yeah.
I will share the PDF in the group, and tomorrow we'll begin chapter 18.
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Can we play the Maya Panchakam after the Shanti part?
Yeah, okay. Dhanyavad Brahmaraji and everybody, the whole team.
Thank you, Balaji, for everything. And Renal.
Thank you everyone.
Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
निरुपमनित्यनिरंशकेऽप्यखण्डे मयि चिति सर्वविकल्पनादिशून्ये घटयति जगदीश जीवभेदम् त्वघटितघटना पटीयसी माया त्वघटितघटना पटीयसी माया श्रुतिशतनिगमान्तशोधकानपि अहह धनादिनिदर्शनेन सद्यः कलुषयति चतुष्पदाद्यभिन्ना न घटितघटना पडीयसी माया सुखचिदखण्डविबोधपद्विनयम् वियदनलादिविनिर्मित्ते नियोज्य भ्रमयति भवसागरे नितान्तम् त्वघटितघटना पटीयसी माया अपगतगुणवर्णजातिभेदे सुखचितिविप्रविडार्यहङ्कृतिं च स्फुटयति सुतदारकेहमोहम् त्वघटितघटना पटीयसी माया विधिहरिहरविभेदमप्यखण्डे बत विरचय्य बुधानपि प्रकामम् भ्रमयति हरिहरविभेदभावान् घटितघटना पडीयसी माया त्वघटितघटना पडीयसी माया